These are the instructions for an origami dress. It'll look just like that. Start with a sheet of paper, whatever color you like, and we're going to use the white side up first, and we're going to make a book fold here. So we're going to take the bottom edge, bring it up to the top, and make sure that it's nice and lined up so you don't have any white showing on the other side. So it's nice and exact. Go ahead and give that a good crease. Open it up, and then rotate it, and we're going to do the other one as well. So you'll have 2 book folds. Make a nice plus sign right there in the middle of the paper. Next step, we're going to take the 2 outside edges and we're going to fold them into the middle. It's going to look like, this is called a cabinet fold. So we fold both of those edges into the middle. It sort of looks like cabinet doors or cupboard doors, the way that they would open up like that. So go ahead and fold those and then unfold them and flip the paper over. Now, we've got 2 mountain folds. You can see how they sort of poke up like that. That's the way we determine it's a mountain fold because it's folded this direction. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this mountain fold and we're going to fold it into the middle line. And the best way to do that is to just sort of slide it over. You can see how the paper sort of accordions or pleats right there in the back. But we're going to take this edge right here and we're going to fold it into the exact middle of the paper that we've already folded. Just like this. We're going to do that on one side and then also on the other side. So you have both sides there, and they fold it in the middle. If you look at the paper from the top, you can see how it's pleated, just like that. All right, now flip the paper back over, and we're going to use this crease we already have here, this halfway mark, and go ahead and fold that down right along that line. And then we're going to do another pleat where we fold it down like this, but then fold it back up just like this. And I'll show you, it's about that far. So it's accordioned there as well, as the paper's been pleated back down. And then flip it back over to the front. On the front, this is going to be the top of the dress, and this is going to be the bottom of the dress. In order to get the bottom of the dress, what we're going to do is we're going to pull this corner right there. We're going to pull it and rotate it out to the side. And we're going to rotate it out to the side as there's a little bit of paper that's left over right there. Just use up all that paper and pull it out to the edge. So try not to go, if you go too far, you might rip it. So try and get it spot on, just like that. And it'll make a little panel that pops up right here. So we folded this flap over to that edge, just like that. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Go ahead and pull this over so that it makes another squash fold just over to the edge, just like that. And that makes the front of the dress like that. So we got that finished. Flip the paper over. And we've got these 2 little panels right here. We're going to take these and we're going to fold them down in a little diagonal fold, just a little triangle. Comes down just on the front, on the left-hand side and also on the right-hand side. Now, we folded those down just so we can get the creases on them. So fold them back up. What's going to happen next is called a petal fold. And the way this works is we're going to take this top edge, the top edge of the paper, and we're going to pick it up and fold it down, and it's going to make these little squashes on the outside edge. The paper is going to get folded down where it's going to connect to these 2 lines. So if you can see right here where we folded these down, the line that we're going to make is going to go right across the bottom edge of these 2 triangles. So when we open this up, fold it down right along that bottom edge, and these 2 panels are going to squash down, just like so. This is the back of the model, so we don't have to care too much about being super precise. But that's the way it'll look. And now we're going to fold this triangle over. A nice little red triangle will show up on the left-hand side, also on the right-hand side, just like that. The next step, we're going to do another cupboard fold. We're going to take these 2 outside edges and fold them into the middle. But this time, when we do it, I'll show you here on the left-hand side. When we fold this panel over, this top of the dress is going to want to come with it. So what we're going to do is when this comes over, we're going to squash down, and it can rotate to any angle you want. If you want a really nice high-waisted dress like this, I'll show you how it sort of pops up and stays up real high at the top, almost like a ballerina dress. Or if you want something a little bit more sleek, you rotate it down and get it down to that point right there. Get it right down to the corner of the paper. Just like that. We'll do that on that one side, and then also the same thing on the other side. So we fold this over. And like I said, as we fold that over, the front of the dress is going to want to come with it. And we squash it down right over to that. And the last step, we're going to take this top triangle and we're going to fold it out to make sleeves. And I fold it out to about an angle like that. But again, it's kind of to taste. I go down to about as far as where the other triangle pulled down. But get it all the way up to the top, just like that. And then you can flip it over, and that's the origami dress. This is a video for an easy origami animal. The example I'm going to make is we're going to make an easy little fox. The first step for the origami fox is take the sheet of paper and we're going to use the white side up. We're going to fold it from the diagonal point up to the other point. So make sure it's nice and lined up so that there's no white paper showing, where it's perfectly right on there. Get it as exact as you can. Slide your finger down, and then use another finger to hold it in place, and then slide out to the corner on each side. So you see how you have nice sharp corners right there on both sides. Next, we're going to take each of those corners and we're going to fold them up to the top of this triangle. Just like that. On one side and then also on the other side. Now, flip the entire thing over. And we're going to take the left side over to the right side. So go ahead and fold the whole thing in half. Just like that. So that gives you this shape, which kind of has a bit of a W look to it. What we're going to do is we're going to take a finger and open up a panel on the side of the fox. Now where you want to be, you want to open up right in the middle of the fox. So I'm going to fold this flap over at an angle just about like this. And instead of folding the entire panel over like that, I'm just going to fold these flaps over. The one for the ear, and then these two sheets of paper over. And you see how it creates a little pocket right there where the head can come down. You keep an ear on both sides, and then squish the head down like that. And that gives you the head of the fox. And lastly, we're just going to fold a little triangle over for the tail. You can see how that makes a cute little easy origami animal. That's a nice little fox. This is a video for an origami box. To start with, we're going to use one sheet of paper that's going to be with the white side up. I'm going to use a diagonal fold. So just go ahead and get all the corners to line up here. So the top two corners, where it's not off to the side, but right on top of it. Go ahead and make a diagonal crease all the way across. Nice sharp corners there. Open it back up, and then do the other diagonal as well. What this is going to do is this is going to tell us where the exact center of the paper is. That X right there should be nice and calculated to the center of the paper. So what we're going to do now is called a blend space. We're going to take all four corners of the paper and we're going to fold them into that exact middle. And you want to be as precise as you can with this one. So get each of those where they line up right on there. And as best you can, try not to bother the neighbors, as we say, so that you don't have the paper folded on top of each one. There should be just butted right up next to them. So do that on all four corners. And that is called a blend space. Now, after you have that, we're going to do what's called a cabinet fold. We're going to take both edges of the paper and we're going to fold them into the center. And I'll show you what it sort of looks like, the way cabinet or cupboard doors open up. Once you get both of those edges to butt up right into the middle, sort of like a cabinet door, just like that. Now once we have that, we fold it and then unfold it. And now we're going to open up the top and the bottom flaps. So go ahead and keep the left and the right in place. And then once we open these back up, fold these two back in using the same crease line we just made. Just like that. Great. The next step, we're going to do 2 diagonal folds that are going to line up right on the edges of this white square. So you see how the white turns into the blue right there. I'm going to fold this over right along that line. And when you do, what should line up is this edge right here. This crease should line up right along that center line. And this point right here where it changes should line up right along that top line. We're going to do it one way, open it up, and then do it the other way as well. Just like that. We do that on the left side and then also the right-hand side. So we fold it over as far as we can, right up like that. And then the other one comes up as well. All right, so all those creases give us everything we need to make the box. What's going to happen is I'm going to take these 2 panels that were the cupboard doors, we're going to pick them up a little bit so that they come up at a 90-degree angle, so that they come right up, straight up into the air. And now I'm going to take this back panel, and I'm going to pick it up into the air, just like this. And you see how, when using these creases that we already made, it makes a little panel right here, this little flap, and we can fold that down right over the top, and that'll lock all the folds we made right into place. And we do the same thing on the other side. So what happens is these 2 spots right here, these 2 triangles sort of fold down as we bring this panel up. You see how everything lines up there nice and even, and then we fold this panel right over the top and try to get as much of the paper folded over the top of it as you can to lock it into place. You should have most of the creases you need in order to make that happen. So follow all the creases you already have. And that right there gets you a nice, easy origami box. And what you can do to make it a gift box is make one with just a little bit of a smaller sheet of paper or just a little bit of a bigger sheet of paper, and the 2 will fit right on top of each other. And that'll give you an origami box. This is a video for a kusadama. Now, a kusadama refers to any kind of origami model that has a bunch of different sheets of paper that are the same, that you've made a couple of different units, and you put it together to make something a little bit cooler. So, for example, this has a number of different units that are all exactly the same in different colors, and they get weaved together to create something a little bit bigger. And sometimes that's also referred to in origami as a modular. So, for that kusadama ball, we're going to start with 1 sheet of paper, and we're going to make a diagonal fold. So with the white side up, we're going to fold a diagonal fold. So make sure that that's nice and lined up so it's not off to the side at all, but very precise. Go ahead and make that nice diagonal fold. Open it back up, and then the other diagonal fold as well. Both of those. So when you open it up and look at it, it'll have a nice cross right in the middle of the paper. What we're going to do next is we're going to do 2 blintz folds. So we're going to take 2 corners and fold them into the exact middle of the paper. And these 2 corners that we're going to do are on opposite edges, opposite sides. So these 2 right here are going to come up and meet each other right in the middle, just like that. Next, we're going to flip the paper over, and we're going to do a cupboard fold. So we're going to take these 2 edges right here at the top and fold them into the middle line of the paper. And when you do this, make sure that you keep it nice and flat on the table because there's that extra panel in the back that we want to keep locked down there. So go ahead and take this edge at the bottom, fold it up to the middle line, and then once you have, there's this extra panel right here. Go ahead and pick that up and then tuck it underneath so that it's no longer locked behind the paper, but it's nice and free, just like that. So do that on the bottom, also on the top, just like this, nice and lined up. And then, once again, you see that little extra tab, go ahead and pick it up and tuck that underneath, just like that. Now, next, we've got the two corners of the paper. We're going to fold those into the edges of the color. So if this is a nice square, go ahead and cut that square in half and hide all the color right there. So it'll just be a white area. Just like this. Now, next is a very important step whenever you're making a modular or a kusadama, because you want to make sure that all of the units are exactly the same. So what you're going to do is you're going to decide a spot that you want to fold up. I'm going to do the top left and the bottom right corner. So I'm going to take this corner right here and I'm going to fold it up. And make sure that you're consistent all the way throughout making all the different units, because if I made one with the bottom corner folded up like this, but I made another one with the opposite corner, they wouldn't intersect. They wouldn't lock up the way you want them to. So go ahead and pick a side. I'm going to take the top left and the bottom right and fold those down. And then open them back up, and then we're going to weave them now under the panel. So go ahead and pick this panel up. You see I'm going to take this edge right here, this triangle, and I'm going to fold it underneath, just like that. It sort of weaves underneath that panel on this side. You can also think about it, if you rotate it around, you're just going to do the exact same thing on the other one. Just like that. So now we have them both weaved underneath just like that. Next, flip the paper over. And from this parallelogram right here, what we're going to do is we're going to take the bottom corner and we're going to fold it up to that edge. When that happens, it should line up nicely with a couple of spots. If you look on the other side of the paper, it's just right where that triangle lines up. That's what's going to get folded behind. And then take the top point and fold it down. Again, it should line up, you should butt up right up against each other on the other edge. Like this. And then now I'm going to fold it in half backwards. I'm just going to bend these two back this way. And this is your unit for this modular. Once I open this up, this is the entire unit that we're going to use. And what you need are several of these. It depends on how big of the ball you want to make. For the example of this one that I was using right here, these are a little bit smaller units than this. This ball will end up being probably about this big. But you could also make one that's a little bit more tighter, a little bit smaller, or even a cube if you wanted to. So make a couple more of these units. I've got a few handy right here. I'm going to show you how they all intersect. So the way this works with modulars, you see how all three of these units are exactly the same. The way a modular works is there's always a pocket and a tab. Now the tab right here is going to be this white point right here. That's the tab, and the pocket is going to be this triangle right here. You see how, if I open it up just a little bit, you see how there's a little tab, that's where the tabs are going to fit into that pocket, right there on each of these. So take another unit, and I'm going to angle it so that the two of them are sort of perpendicular, where they would intersect like this. And you see how this tab right here will slide nicely right into that pocket, just like that. And then from there, we're going to take the next one, and this is going to wrap around to make a pyramid or a triangle. You see how that's the pocket right there. I'm going to take this tab, slide it in, and you see how that'll make a full pyramid. Now this one right over here, the problem with that is that one was underneath, so go ahead and bring that up to the top. And you see how the three of them now will weave into each other to create a pretty tight interlocking shape, just like this. And from here, you're just going to keep adding units and working your way around. You'll see how there's another pocket right there, right there, right there, and you just keep adding tabs all the way around until you come up with the finished modular. And it'll look something like this. The first step for the Origami Lily is we're going to fold a diagonal fold with the color side up from one corner all the way up to the other corner. Make sure they're nice and lined up so that they're not off to the side. Get it nice and precise right there. Put a finger down, slide your finger down, and then out to the edges. And that should give you a really nice diagonal with some sharp points there. Go ahead and open that back up, and then do the other diagonal fold. And once you have both of those, it'll give you a nice plus right in the middle of the paper. Flip the paper over, and then now we're going to do book folds. From the bottom edge all the way up to the top, and again, be as precise as you can. Nice thing about origami, it's not about how fast you go, just try and be nice and accurate. And once you get the other one, fold the second book fold, just like that. And once you folded the second book fold, go ahead and leave it folded down. What we're going to do is we're going to pinch near the top of the four corners of the paper, and once you pinch near the top of those four corners, just rotate them up, and you can sort of get them all to touch each other, and that's going to make a square base. You can flatten that back down where it's equal. It's going to have two on each side. It's got two flaps on each side, and it's not making any new creases, it's just using the creases that we've already created. So now, once you have the square base, fold it up so that you can work with each of these four panels. We're going to use what's called a squash fold. So I'm going to push down on the top of the paper, top of that edge, and it's going to squash down just like that. And make sure that this line right here lines up along the center line so that it's not off to the side a little bit like that or one or the other. Get it nice and lined up. And we're going to do that on all four of the panels. So if you want, go ahead and fold that flap over to get to that next panel, and then go ahead and push right down on it just like that again, and that gets you the squash folds. That's the second one. Flip it over. You do it on all of them. You might have to get your finger up there inside a lot so that it opens up the paper enough so that it'll squash all the way down nice and flat. But sometimes, if you push down on it just right, you can get it to flap open pretty easily without too much trouble, just like that. There's the fourth one. There we are. And this is referred to as the flower base, which is useful because we're making a flower. You're going to have two flaps on either side, just like that. We're going to use these white flaps as the bottom of the paper for right now. And what we're going to do is it's called a petal fold. The petal fold consists of three different folds. It's two kite folds and a book fold. So what we're going to do is go ahead and make this outside edge right here at the bottom and fold both of those into the center. Do that on the left-hand side and then also the right-hand side, just like that. And once we have that, now we're going to fold the top of the paper all the way down to the bottom. And it's a lot of paper, but go ahead and give it a good squish. And when we open it up, those three folds, these two kite folds and this top-down book fold, those are all just preliminary folds so that we can get to the next step. So unfold all three of them, and you'll see that there's this nice triangle that we've created with our creases. What we're going to do is we're going to take this flap right here, and I'm going to pick it up as far as it'll go using this crease that we made when we folded this down. So right along that edge, I'm going to pick that up, and when this happens, you'll see as I stretch this forward, these two flaps naturally want to go in, which is great because we already made that fold right there with that kite fold. So go ahead and use that fold that we just made with the kite fold and work our way up to the top, and it'll make a brand new panel. Just like that. That's the petal fold. So I'll show you that once again from the beginning. We open it up like this. We pick this flap up right here, and it flattens those other sides down, and that's the petal fold. And we're going to do that on all four panels. So go ahead and open it up to different flaps and start making all of these extra steps, just like this. So the two kite folds, and then luckily there should be a little bit of that fold where we folded the top down, because we folded it through all the layers of the paper, so it should be there on all of the ones. You shouldn't have to do that step again. And then we pick it up for the petal fold. And make sure when you're doing the petal fold that you've got the flaps oriented properly so that you have the two white triangles down here at the bottom. That's what you're going to have to look at when you're making this. Now, we're going to rotate the paper around because these four big extra flaps, those are going to be the petals that we're going to use for the flower. So that's going to be turned into the top. So let's use that as the top right now. And we're going to take each of these little triangles that we made with the petal fold and fold those up towards these extra petals. So find all the flaps that we've got and fold all those little flaps up. There should be 4 of them total. There we go. All of them get folded up to the top. And then the next step, we're going to find a flap that's just the diamond shape, like this. So these are one of the flaps. It's going to alternate between looking like this and this. You see on both sides. So find all the ones that look like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to thin the bottom. So this little edge right here, these 2 edges on this outside bottom point, those are going to get folded into the center line. Just like this. And make sure that it lines up all the way down from the bottom point into the middle section. Now we're going to do 8 of these total. So go ahead and find any flap that has this nice, just one flat sheet of diamond paper, and then fold both flaps into the center, like that. And like I said, there's 8 times we're going to do that total to make this little fold. And once you finish with all of them, you have thinned the entire bottom of the iris flower. Looks like this. And once we've gotten to this point, this is the base for the entire flower. The next thing is just to find the petals, which are these panels right here on the top. We're going to open them up and we're going to curl them. So a good way to curl them, you can use your finger, or another thing, if you have scissors or anything sharp or pointed, I use needle nose pliers for a lot of my origami, but what you can do here is you can just sort of curl it like this. If you've ever made a ribbon before, that's the same sort of idea. You use your thumb up against an edge and you can round the petals. You do this for all 4 of the petals to give it a nice curve. And you'll see the flower sort of start to come together at this point. This is the opening up of the iris flower. And then once you get all 4 of them, curl it back. You can see you have a really nice iris flower. It finishes off.